Um, so, I welcome the audience to today's talk of the Benefits from Space series. To give a brief introduction about today's speaker, Dr. Guru Prasad. Dr. B.R. Guru Prasad is the director of this planetarium. Before this, he has served as a satellite scientist in satellite mission planning and later also in the media and public relations wing of ISRO. Apart from all this, for more than 2 decades, he has been very active in science communication, which is his passion. He has authored 13 books, among which some have been translated to various Indian languages and contributed to various science articles published in reputed newspapers and magazines in both English and Kannada. He has been involved in teacher training programs, science quizzes, conducting workshops for students from various parts of the country. I heartily welcome him and I request him to deliver this public lecture.
Hello. Good afternoon to all the people in the YouTube as well as my colleagues in JNP. Being quite a dry month, this is the exam time. But anyway, we took a chance that to arrange a popular lecture. Anyway, without delaying much for the people on the YouTube, let me begin my talk under the series Benefits from Space. Okay, many of my colleagues have helped in this regard. All the people who are streaming it, Sharanya is there, Ravi, Deepak, Anand, and all others. Especially I would like to mention Deepak's name for much of the help he has done in this regard. And by thanking all, let me go to the first slide. So today's topic is Venus, Earth's hellish next door neighbor. Venus is also called as Earth's evil twin. Why? What makes it to get such notoriety? Okay, let us see in the lecture. For the past few months, we have been, at least for the past 2 months, we have been seeing Venus in the night sky as a very bright star. Here, that is the moon, this is Venus, and that is supposed to be Saturn. We have been seeing this in the southwestern sky for the almost past 2 months. Okay, so Venus is confused as a bright star. Many people have asked me what is this bright star in the during the sunset. They don't say southwest, southeast, all those things. They say that what is this bright star? Is it a, if I tell them that it's a planet, they will be surprised. Many people do not know the difference between a planet and a star even by looking at it easily. And the same Venus, if it were to be viewed through even a small telescope, it exhibited its half phase or even crescent phase. Very recently, 2 days, 3 days back, actually I saw Venus and it was in this phase, crescent phase, much smaller than this also. And like moon, Venus also exhibits its phases. Okay. So there is reason for that. I'll come to that a little later. So this is planet Venus. Okay. It is very similar to Earth in certain respects, but much different when compared to Earth in many other respects. Okay, this is planet Earth on which we are now living, and it is a heaven for us. And even in this heaven, if we were to experience a change in temperature of about a few degrees, then we start grumbling. But anyway, we can afford to do that on Earth. But what about Venus? Okay, which is, many people used to say it was Earth's twin. On Earth, you see, I was telling, we have plenty of water. Earth is called as a blue planet because of 71% of its surface is covered under water. And water is, wherever there is life or wherever there is water, chances of finding life is more. Okay. And Earth is also endowed with a tropical forest wealth. Okay. And you can see the Amazon River here. And water is water is plenty on the surface of the Earth. And we have snow-capped mountains, so water is there on Earth in the form of water vapor in the atmosphere, and liquid water in oceans, seas, and fresh water in rivers, lakes, etc. And as snow in the form of on the top of very tall mountains, in fact. And of course, Earth, due to anthropocentric activities, that is due to human beings, we have a lot of cities which are very, very teeming with millions of people, tens of millions of people, and these are all characteristics of the Earth, which is a living planet. And the flora and fauna is also very plenty. We have very varied animal species, okay, whether it is in the form of carnivores or reptiles like this, or marine creatures like sharks, and this albatross, in fact, which is a bird which is avian basically. And of course, millions of people live on the surface of the Earth, which is quite a second rock from the sun. So what about the distances? Mercury on the average is at a distance of 6 crore kilometers. Compare it with the 15 crore kilometers average distance between the sun and the Earth. This is 6 crore kilometers on the average. This is 11 crore kilometers. This is 15 crore kilometers from the sun. This is 23 crore kilometers from the sun. That is 78 crores. That is 145 crores. This is 285 crores. Neptune is 485 crores. So distances in the outer solar system are enormous. Then, if these planets, Earth and Venus, are circling the Earth at different distances, Venus at 11 crore kilometers from the sun on the average, and Earth 15 crore kilometers on the average, how much time does the Venus take to go around the sun once? Okay. Earth, all of us know that we call it as 1 year. It takes roughly 365 days to go around the sun once. So that is 1 year. If Earth takes 365 days to go around the sun once, then in the case of Venus, it is 225 days. So 1 year on Venus is 225 days. And when we always say year, we can also say something about the day on Earth as well as on Venus. Okay. Earth takes 24 hours to spin around its own axis once, 24 hours, but Venus takes 240, from one sense, I would say, 243 days to spin around its own axis once in the so-called wrong direction. Why wrong direction? The wrong direction is defined like this. First, let us understand what is the right direction. Okay, Earth, the Earth and all other planets of the solar system, they are revolving around the sun in anti-clockwise direction. If you look at the solar system from the north polar region of the sun, let us say from the north, so they are going anti-clockwise. Okay, that is, let us say, from west to east. Okay, so that is why we say, and at the same time they are also spinning, many of them are spinning in the same direction, in the sense from west to east. So Earth is also spinning from west to east. That is why we say sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It is nothing to do with the sun, it is something to do with the Earth. But when I said Venus is spinning around its own axis in the wrong direction, means though it revolves around the sun from west to east, it is spinning around its own axis from east to west. Why? There are many explanations, okay, that is different. So let us go back to history. From time immemorial, humans have looked at the night sky. Really, they were overawed with the number of stars in the night sky. They were really, first they were scared, and whatever they were frightened about later gave rise to interest, curiosity, and they started observing the night sky very curiously, intently, as well as in a focused way. So, man is a curious animal from time. The thing is, by nature, by birth, humans are very curious, okay? They are endowed with the thinking capability, creative capability. That is the reason they are always, exploratory zeal is part of their psyche, I would say. So, this is sculpture, Rodin's, this sculpture called the Thinking Man. Humans have been wondering about the earth, the night sky, and many a times they have wondered, what does it all mean? Where do I fit in here in this? So that is natural. Curiosity is natural for humans. The urge to explore is quite but natural for them. And when humans were looking at the night sky, they were observing the night sky. One thing actually struck them. Okay, stars which were twinkling by and large, they appear to be motionless. They appear to be fixed to the night sky. But amongst those stars, there were 5 dots of light which were not twinkling by and large. They were not twinkling, and they appear to move against the background of the so-called fixed stars. Not this quickly. This is only to make you understand it. So over a period of weeks, these 5 dots of light appear to change their position. They were called as planetes by ancient Greeks, from which the word planet comes, okay, in English. So planet means wanderer. So that is the meaning of planet. So in Kannada or Sanskrit we say graha, okay. For a long time humans were thinking that earth was the center of the universe. There is nothing wrong in it. That is the way it looks. The entire sky appears to turn centered on us, and sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So does the moon. It rises, sets. So humans were thinking they were created by God for a special purpose, and wherever they are living, okay, that should be the center of the universe. Okay, but this view prevailed for a long time, and it was codified very well by a Greek astronomer, I would say. His name was Claudius Ptolemaeus. Simply he is known as Ptolemy. But anyway, in the 15th century, there was an astronomer by name, come priest, okay, in the Christendom by name Nicholas Copernicus. He said it is not the sun which goes around the earth, it is the earth which goes around the sun. But anyway, he had to face a lot of difficulties, lot of opposition, lot of threats and all those things. But anyway, he was clever enough. He didn't, his views, I would say, more than him. Okay. So, but anyway, when he was on his deathbed, anyway, one book was published. Okay. So, which talked about the so-called geocentric solar system, this one, heliocentric solar system. That is, he said sun is the center of the universe. Okay, anyway, nobody knew what universe was. He would have told sun is the center of the solar system. At least it would have been better. Okay, anyway, even today that view prevails. And today, you know that I am putting this slide, a different view of the solar system. Sun is at the center, supposed to be, The first planet Mercury, second planet Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn is there, Uranus and Neptune, 8 planets. So this is the order in which the solar system is arranged. And another perspective, here is the planet Mercury, the first one, planet Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Let's not bother about that last one. Okay, that dot of bright dot. Okay, anyway, I didn't say much about the size of Earth and Venus. Anyway, we are talking about Venus, and it was thought of as Earth's twin, I said. So, Earth's diameter, how big is the Earth? The diameter of the Earth is 12,756 kilometers on the average. Okay, the diameter of Venus is 12,100 kilometers. So, very near to each other. And when it comes to the mass, yes, it is almost 80% the mass of the Earth, Venus. Okay, so all these things, make it make the density of Venus the same as that of Earth's. So this is the way the 4 planets from this, the first 4 planets of the solar system are revolving around the sun. You can observe one thing, that is, Mercury, the nearest planet to the sun, is moving very fast, and Venus is moving relatively slower compared to that, and much slower is the Earth, and Mars is the slowest in the inner solar system. This is as per Kepler's laws. Now look at the sizes. Once again I am showing. Here is Mercury, this is Venus, this is Earth, this is Mars, and this is our moon. Why they have put this? Maybe this is supposed to be the Sirius, I feel, in fact, looking at its diameter compared to that of Mars. And again I am coming back to Venus and the Earth. They are almost of the same size, though they are not shown in the same phases. Okay, same phases. This is not a total full Venus. This is almost gibbous, and this is the full Earth, but in terms of diameter they are almost the same. If you weigh 100 kilograms on Earth, you will weigh about 90 kilograms or 95 kilograms on the surface of Venus. And look at that. This is the way Venus is the brightest object in the night sky after the moon. Sometimes it is frighteningly bright, I would say. Even today evening, you can look at the southwestern horizon where Venus is actually a bright dot of light. You can see very bright, very bright. And okay, Copernicus, I told you, displays the Earth from its central position in the solar system, and he put sun inside that. Okay, sun put at the center of the solar system. But people did not believe it. They had very strong reasons, and they had religious sanction also 500 years back. But somebody had to provide a proof for the Copernicus view that sun was the center of the solar system. Galileo Galilei effectively used a newly invented device. He didn't invent the telescope. A newly invented device called telescope to observe the heavens, and he looked, when he turned his telescope, crude telescope, towards the Venus, how was this? Venus revealed its phases, in fact. So if we observe Venus phases like this was one proof that, okay, sun was at the center of the solar system, that is for the geocentric system. This is the way you can look at Venus at different phases. See, look at that. See, when it is, let us say, a crescent, its disk is larger, and though the disk is smaller, later the more and more illuminated portion of Venus is visible to us, and this is almost a new Venus. A halo is there around that, and this is Venus. Again, I am showing you the way in which it looks. But anyway, at least in this picture, you can see lot of clouds there. Okay, if you look at Venus using visible light, you don't see the cloud structures there. But on the other hand, if you look at Venus using ultraviolet light, you can see a lot of details about the dynamics of Venus at Venusian atmosphere. That's a big word or a complex word. One can see the cloud structure as well as the movement in the atmosphere of the Venus by using ultraviolet light. Okay, after Galileo Galilei showed that Venus exhibits phases, what else happened to Venus? Let us dwell upon the history of the observation of Venus. This was a gentleman by name Mikhail Vasilyevich. Yeah, sorry. His name was Mikhail Vasilyevich Lomonosov. Okay, he was in the 18th century. He is called as the father of Russian science. This gentleman, actually in 1761, he observed Venus very in a focused way as it crossed the sun's disk. It is called as transit. At that time, he came to know that Venus had an atmosphere. That was a very important discovery. In fact, like Earth, Venus also had an atmosphere. This came to be known after Lomonosov observed planet Venus during the transit of Venus. Then, like Earth, Venus was also endowed with clouds, atmosphere, with lot of gases. So especially clouds means really people started imagining. Okay, Venus was the size of the Earth, and it had thick clouds. So obviously it should have a lot of water. Clouds means they didn't understand what kind of clouds. Clouds means they thought they were water clouds. So many people imagine, maybe in the 19th century, the thing is 19th or even in the earlier 20th century, people imagine the kind of dragon kind of animals on the surface of Venus or even in its clouds, and even it is depicted as water here, in fact. Okay, so many people strongly believed that Venus was endowed with life. And as telescopes grew in size, people started observing Venus in a more focused way. And the person who is shown in this photograph is Percival Lowell, who was a perseverant astronomer who established an observatory, and he was the proponent of the canals on Mars theory. And the telescope established by him was used to discover Pluto, which was called as ninth planet from 1930 to 2006. And anyway, this gentleman observed Venus, and he said he had already acquired popularity or notoriety, whatever you call, by telling that there were canals on Mars. The same person looked at Venus and said that he saw a feature which was in constant place, okay, on the surface of Venus. The implication was easy. What did it mean? It just meant that Venus was tidally locked to the sun. What does it mean? Again, for a layman, how do you say? Venus always turns the same side towards the sun. That is what he propounded. Many people believed also, because I'll give you one more example. Moon always presents the same hemisphere towards the Earth as it goes around the Earth. In a similar way, if it is tidally locked, Venus also was supposed to show the same face towards the sun always. That is what Lowell told, but that was not the case. Then, anyway, in the 19th century, spectroscopy was invented by Fraunhofer, okay, and it grew in the 20th century. And using spectroscopy, carbon dioxide was discovered in the early 20th century in the atmosphere of Venus. So much of carbon dioxide. So people thought that already clouds were there, so a lot of water, and now carbon dioxide is there means probably it is full, it may contain lots of water in oceans, which is carbonated water. Many people were interpreting it like that. And the thing is, today we know that whatever they observed was correct. That is, in the sense, carbon dioxide makes up 96% of the part of 96, in part 96% of carbon dioxide is found in the atmosphere of Venus. Nitrogen and other things are much, much smaller. Sulfur dioxide or even argon, this kind of thing. And all these things made many people to think Venus as a water world. Okay. Venus is mostly covered with oceans, people were thinking. Let me tell you one more thing. These were all speculations because one can never see the surface of Venus from Earth, or even if you are orbiting Venus, if you are going around the Venus, if you are revolving around the Venus also, you can never see the surface using visible light because Venus is engulfed by clouds which reflect 80% of the light falls on them. Okay. So you don't know what is there below those thick clouds. The reason why Venus is frighteningly bright is these clouds. What do they contain? I will tell you later. Okay. So this was the thing. Many people speculated that Venus was a water world because it was already engulfed or cocooned by thick clouds. They thought they were water clouds, and carbon dioxide was there, was found. So carbonated water may be there on Venus, people were thinking. And many others said that if it contains so much of water, let us say, then it is a tropical paradise. People were thinking, look at the Brazilian rainforests in this picture. Somewhat like this, people were thinking. And many people argued that Venus, as far as its evolutionary phase is concerned, as far as the way in which it is changing with time is concerned, it is much younger to Earth, they were thinking. So that is the reason why they thought Venus was actually, I don't know whether I can say infested, okay? Venus was inhabited by animals like dinosaurs even. They were arguing because dinosaurs were there on Earth 65 million years back, or even between 225 and 65 million years back during the Mesozoic era, but Venus has not progressed that much in its evolution. Okay, that's what many people argue. That is why still it was in its early evolutionary stage as far as life is concerned, they were thinking. Then whether all these things were correct or not, nobody knew. Suddenly, when people started analyzing the different kinds of electromagnetic radiations given out by Venus, they were horrified to know one thing. Scientists from the United States, Russia, and other places, they started collecting the microwave energy emitted by Venus, and from that, they found that the surface was exceedingly hot, maybe 200 degrees centigrade or something like that. This was in, let us say, even in early 60s and late 50s, and even at the beginning of the 60s, people were thinking, many people, despite knowing the fact that Venus was emitting a lot of microwaves, still they were thinking that, life was there, and whatever we have detected, microwaves, that is making us to draw false conclusions. Venus is a world with a lot of life, people were thinking. Okay, this was the thing. Then things started changing. See, on October 4th, 1957, the world's first artificial satellite Sputnik 1 was launched. So humans acquired technology to send something to space. Within a few years, humans had the ability to send spacecraft towards the moon and some of the planets of the solar system. Now look at this animation. So let us not bother about Venus Express and all those things. This is the orbit of the Earth and this is the orbit of Venus. Let us say. When you launch something from Earth, you can efficiently travel to Venus, okay, in about 5 months, okay, and the opportunity to actually launch a spacecraft towards Venus in an efficient way, you will get that opportunity once in 584 days, once in 19 months, that's all. You can launch anytime you want, but you have to have a lot of rocket power which you don't want to waste. But if you want to efficiently launch a spacecraft to Venus, then you have to launch it once in, there will be an opportunity once in 19 months. Okay, that's the thing. Then in 1961, the Soviets launched a rocket containing a spacecraft. Okay, look at that. This is the way they launched the spacecraft called Venera. Venera, Venera. It is not Venera, it is pronounced as Venera in Russian. And these spacecraft were launched by the Soviet Union. Yes. No, no. Yeah. No. Okay. That rocket launched these kind of Venera spacecraft. Venera means in Russian Venus. That is the way Russians call it in Russian language. Whatever we say, Mercury as Buddha, like that. Venera means Venus. Okay. So the Russians launched Venera 1 and Venera 2. Okay. Actually, those were the days. It was the learning period. So the spacecraft, though some of them, they could not separate from their rockets, and some of the rockets exploded, and some of them, they went very near to Venus. One of the earlier Venera spacecraft, Venera 2, let us say, they lost contact with the spacecraft very early, but it passed by Venus at a distance of 1 lakh kilometers. Mind it, the average distance between Earth and Venus. Venus is at 11 crore kilometers from the sun on the average. Earth is at a distance of 15 crore kilometers on the average. So at least 4 crore kilometers nearest. But compared to 4 crores, if you make a spacecraft to pass by Venus at 1 lakh kilometers, it is very nearby. So that happened, but anyway, you didn't have any contact with the spacecraft. Then Americans launched Mariner series of spacecraft. Look at the rocket, that is an Atlas rocket. Anyway, kids may enjoy a lot this one. Okay, look at the rocket. This rocket, Atlas rocket, launched this spacecraft called Mariner 2. Mariner 2. Actually, this was the first spacecraft to explore some other planet. This passed by Venus at a distance of only 35,000 kilometers. 35,000 kilometers. And it said the temperature on Venus, whether it is on day side or night side, it is nearly plus 250 degrees. You are interested to know how that spacecraft went to Venus? I will show you a video. Seeing is believing. Okay. Look at that. This is the way Mariner 2 was sent towards Venus from Earth. It actually fired its rocket engine, okay, went towards Venus. So that is the way it was. And then Russians launched Venera 4. I told you Venera means Venus. These spacecraft which went to study Venus, they were known as Veneras. So this was Venera 4. Okay, look at that. Especially I want to show you this. This entire spacecraft is shown here, Venera 4. So this, can you see a hemispherical dome there? That is the one which went and landed on Venus. Venera 2 and 3, before this, they could not reach surface at all. Before they reached the surface, they were crushed and incinerated by the hellish conditions on the surface of Venus. So anyway, Venera 4 reported that actually it landed on the surface of Venus and said the temperature there was about 450 degrees centigrade. Pressure on the surface of Venus was 90 times the pressure here, and 96% was carbon dioxide. That is what is known today. So you can, who has taken this picture? Nobody has taken, this is a painting, okay? So Venus is a hell, really, okay? So look at that, look at this was the spacecraft, and then again Venera 5, Venera 6, like that Russians launched. Venera 7 is here, and this is the spacecraft that made a landing on the surface of Venus. Look at that. This is yet another view of Venera 7, and I'll show you a video how they landed, even without a parachute in the final stages. Look at that. This is a massive rocket of the Soviet Union called Proton. And this is the way the spacecraft was launched from Earth towards Venus. And once it neared Venus, the spacecraft, look at that, how the landing part separated from the spacecraft. Look at that. Oh, that is how it's going down, down and down and down. The heat shield is separating. And look at that. See, this is the part which has not landed. It is just passing near Venus. Then look at that. Yeah, this is the way it went and landed on the surface of Venus. And these are the pictures that were taken from the surface of Venus. And you see, any spacecraft till now which has landed on the surface of Venus, they are alive at the most for 2 hours. After that, they have been crushed because of the kind of conditions. Look at that. This is the way a painting shows how that spacecraft, while sitting on the surface of Venus, looked. Okay? How do you feel when you are there on the surface of Venus? Okay? It appears as though, first, let me tell you, let me not scare you too much. It appears as though you are on the bottom of a swimming pool, okay, where water is too much. See, it's not easy to lift your hand as you lift here. In a swimming pool, it is not that easy, okay, because water is there. You have to struggle against water, okay. Venus's atmosphere is 90 times thick, okay. So, want like this, and even if you look at the surroundings, it is not just like the way it looks here, very clear, that kind of thing. And your temperature will be plus 450 degrees centigrade, as though you are in a microwave oven. The pressure falling on you will be 90 times the atmospheric pressure, which is found here, which is equivalent to sitting, going down in water, or going down to the bottom of a sea or an ocean at a depth of 1 kilometer. That is the pressure. We can't even imagine. We are experiencing only 1 atmospheric pressure, 90 times that much. And you want to take a deep breath? Let me have oxygen? Not possible. It is carbon dioxide. And finally, if you want rain on Venus, fortunately rain drops don't fall on Venus. If they fall, it is sulfuric acid. If they fall, they don't fall. Okay? What else you want? As far as Venus is concerned, to call it a hell, isn't it? Real hell. It is not a proverbial hell, or it is not a mythological hell like Yamadharmaraya's domain. Not like that. This is a hell which is next door neighbor to us. Venus is the nearest planet to us, not even Mars. Venus, even when Venus and Earth are very near to each other, they are separated by a distance of only 4 crore kilometers. Look at that. This is the real picture of the Venus surface or Venusian surface taken by a spacecraft called Venera 13 or Venera 14. So this is yet another view of the surface of Venus. Having taken this picture, within 2 hours, the spacecraft got crushed. Yeah, this is a painting based on those pictures somebody has painted, how the landscape of Venus looks, in fact. Okay? And this is the way it is. This is yet another painting which shows, and you can see where different spacecraft have landed on the surface of Venus. Then, in 1978, Americans launched 2 spacecraft called Pioneer Venus 1, Pioneer Venus 2, or Pioneer Venus Orbiter and the probes. This spacecraft didn't study the visible light from Venus on the other hand, because nothing can be seen down below. So this spacecraft had a radar. So radar waves, that is radio waves kind of things, they can go and they are reflected back through the atmosphere of Venus. That's how it built up the picture of the surface of Venus. And the other Pioneer Venus probe actually sent a lot of 4 probes, that is small spacecraft, and one of to observe the atmosphere of Venus, and one of them even survived up to the surface and transmitted the information for 1 hour. Look at that. This is the way the spacecraft looked, and this is the way that probes, those probes separated from the spacecraft before reaching Venus. And Russians also, Russians and Americans, Soviet Russians and Americans were competing like Olympic sprinters at that time with each other during the Cold War era. And they also had a radar in 2 of their spacecraft called Venera 15 and 16. They also built up the picture of some of the portions of Venus. Only, you see, a small portion of Venus's surface was mapped using radar, okay, using radar by Venera 15 and 16. So largely American and Soviet spacecraft have supplied us lots and lots of information about Venus. Then many of you know that Halley's comet came to the inner solar system in 1985, and it was very near to Earth in 1986. At that time, Russians, they wanted to send a spacecraft to Halley's comet, but anyway, they thought that they would combine, they would strike 2 birds with a single shot. Okay, so what they did was they sent a landing probe to Venus in the same spacecraft, and 1 balloon also, to study the atmosphere of Venus. And having gone to Venus, then the spacecraft continued towards the Halley's comet. Vega 1 and Vega 2. VE means Vega, VE means Venus. GA means, in Russian it is, instead of Halley, they call it as Gale, for Halley, for Halley. That is why Vega, they called it Vega. This is the balloon which the Russians, Soviet Russians, sent to study the atmosphere of Venus. They floated in the atmosphere of Venus at a height of, say, about 55 kilometers or so, where atmospheric pressure and temperature are similar to whatever we have here. Okay, not on the surface. Then many of you might have heard the name Magellan or Magellan, Ferdinand Magellan, isn't it? Your textbooks say that he was the first person to circumnavigate the Earth. That is not the case. He led the expedition in 1519, but in 1521 or so he was killed on the way. But anyway, the expedition led by him circumnavigated the Earth. It circled the Earth, that is 500 years back, and NASA named a spacecraft to explore Venus after Ferdinand Magellan, or Magellan as we pronounce in India. And this is also a radar spacecraft. Okay, this is the way it looked when it was taken to space. Let me tell you, if you want to know what is there on the surface of Venus, or if you want to build a map of the surface of Venus, then you have to have radar. Without that, it is not possible. Using visible light, nothing is visible to you what is there below the clouds of Venus. See, this is the way Magellan went to Venus, and using its antenna, okay, let me show you the visual. Here it is better. Now you can visualize how Magellan went. Okay, this is the way it fired its rocket engine. Look at that. See, this is the radar antenna as well as the radio antenna. The same antenna was used for taking radar pictures of Venus as well as to transmit the data to Earth. But you have to turn towards the Earth afterwards. That's what they did. Everything happened. No, there was no problem. Okay. This is known as pancake domes. Dosa tara ide idu. Okay. These are the features on the surface. This is supposed to be the fresh lava, and that is a crater, and this is a planar region. So look at that. Before Magellan, it was like this, Venus. After Magellan, you knew what was on the surface of Venus. Okay, look at that. After that, you know, Magellan was there in orbit around Venus between 1990 and 1994. Then it was deliberately crashed into Venus. Its story was finished. Then for quite a long time, for about 10 years, there was nothing as far as Venus is concerned. You see, people are always bothered about Mars, not on Venus. Elon Musk, you see, he wants to go to Mars, not Venus. Venus is a hellish planet. Nobody wants to go there. But anyway, it's a very interesting thing. It can be a warning bell for Earthlings, because if we spoil our environment in a way, then it might be uncontrollable. Not that Earth will become Venus or anything, but it will be harmful for us. That warning bell is provided by Venus to us, which is very near. Today, go and look at southwestern horizon. You will see it as a bright dot of light, even now today, in about 1.5 hours. Okay, this is Venus Express, which is sent by Europeans to Venus. And look at that. If you want to take the pictures of the clouds of Venus, you have to rely on ultraviolet light. Okay, different kinds of electromagnetic radiation reveal different things as far as a star or any other heavenly body is concerned. Oh, there is some problem there. Yeah, it has come back. So, okay. So it is playing cat and mouse game. Anyway, after Venus Express, Japanese launched a spacecraft called Akatsuki. Akatsuki means dawn. I'm very glad to, this spacecraft also, people think that it is very easy to send any spacecraft to any planet and all those things. Japanese have been very unsuccessful. In 2010 or so, this spacecraft had to go near Venus, fire its rocket engine and go into an orbit around Venus. The rocket engine did not fire at all. Next 5 years they waited, and again they used some other rockets, smaller rockets, inefficiently, and at least they could able to salvage some part of the mission. Even today it is circling the Earth, and I'm very glad to say that this spacecraft has been tracked by an antenna at Byalalu near Bengaluru here. It has tracked Akatsuki spacecraft. Anyway, that has some implications. This is a marvel of Indian engineering as far as space engineering is concerned. Okay. Then look at that. See, we have different continents on the surface of the Earth. Continents are the areas which are elevated. Okay. 71% is covered under water, and there are 5-7 continents. It all depends. Okay. But what about Venus? How do you rate the terrain of Venus? That is the surface of Venus. On the surface of Venus, most of the surface is gently rolling plains, that is lowland areas. But there are 2 areas which are elevated and which are somewhat similar to continents. Okay. One is called, one is in the northern hemisphere, okay, and other one is near the equator, okay. Ishtar Terra, they call it. Ishtar was the name of the Babylonian goddess of, which was named after, for Venus, okay. Babylonians, you know, the thing is, they were there in whatever today is Iraq, and their Venus goddess was called as Ishtar, okay. Let me tell you, most of the names on Venus are named after female deities, okay. That is one thing. And this is Aphrodite Terra. Aphrodite was the Greek goddess of love, okay. So on Venus it is very appropriate, and Greek goddess after whom Venus was named. So this Ishtar Terra and Aphrodite Terra, these are the two continental areas on Venus. This is the way a continent looks compared to the oceans or sea level, you would say. And I told you, these are the pancake domes. Dosa ತರ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಇದು. That is the reason why, you know, they are called as pancake domes. They are volcanoes. That's all, volcanoes. More than 1,000 volcanoes have been discovered on Venus. And look at that. This is one of the volcanoes called Mons. Okay, Mons. And this is the one of the craters. On Venus, you will find only large craters. You don't find small craters. There is a reason. And anyway, all said and done, you might be surprised to know this is a elevated area in the Ishtar Terra region in the northern hemisphere, I said. And it might be surprising to know that the name of this place, which is surrounded by mountains, it is called as Lakshmi Planum on the surface. My colleague is there, Lakshmi, she is very happy. Okay, this is called as Lakshmi Planum after goddess Lakshmi only, that is in the Hindu pantheon. Okay, so this is surrounded by mostly mountains. One of them is called Maxwell Montes. Okay, that is Maxwell Mountain. Maxwell is the only male name given in Venus. Okay, named after James Clerk Maxwell, the man who theorized electromagnetic waves. Okay, so how does the Venus look? Okay, how does the atmosphere look? How does the surface look? Look at that. This is the way the surface looks. That is the way this atmosphere looks. See, Venus, I told you, it will spin around its own axis once in 243 days in the so-called wrong direction. So 1 year on Venus is shorter than 1 day there. So, but anyway, the atmosphere of Venus, it rotates very fast. Once in 4 days it rotates. Okay, that's the thing. Then look at that. This is yet another picture. The way in which I told you, Ishtar Terra is there and Aphrodite Terra near the equator. It is there. So different elevations are given, different colors. Okay, so much so about this. And what about the internal structure? I don't want to go much into this. Venus also is endowed with a core, a mantle, and a crust as Earth is. That is what people have theorized. No, not that anybody has gone and seen that. Okay, this is based on. Let me tell you one more thing. I forgot to tell you. Earth and why it is happening like this? Earth and Moon are shown in this picture, but Venus does not have any natural satellite orbits. No, there is no natural satellite for Mercury and Venus. And look at that. This is the way one of the spacecraft, when it went near Venus, it took the picture, how the atmospheric circulation is there. You can see in a not so detailed way. And Americans in 2028 and 2030 period, they are going to launch a spacecraft called Da Vinci. It is nothing to do with Leonardo da Vinci. That is a spacecraft acronym. Okay, maybe they are very happy that Da Vinci's name is also there. But it wants to take pictures of the surface of Venus, explore its atmosphere, as well as send high resolution pictures of the surface of Venus. Why? Yes. Today humans want to know, Venus, did it ever contain water on its surface? So that is one thing. There is yet another spacecraft called Veritas, which NASA is going to launch during the same period, that will actually look at the surface of Venus. I told you, surface of Venus from orbit, if you want to see, you have to have a radar. That is what it is going to have, and they are going to look at the surface of Venus to understand its geological past. Okay. So look at that. Oh, look at what is happening. ISRO Shukrayan takes on paper at least. Okay. The government greenlights Venus mission to study planet's weather atmosphere. Look at that. Haven't we explored moon very well? Haven't we landed on the surface of the moon in the South Polar region? We are the pioneers. Haven't we explored Mars very well with whatever resources available? Then what prevents us from exploring Venus? That is what is happening in the case of Shukrayan. And Shukrayan will be, as of now, the information which I have seen through the open sources, Shukrayan spacecraft weighing about 2,500 kilograms will be launched in LVM-3 rocket, which we have exhibited outside the in the planetarium, and the heaviest rocket in India today. They are going to launch Shukrayan spacecraft in 2028. After 4 or 5 months, it will be going into an orbit around Venus, and it will carry a balloon to study the Earth's atmosphere. You remember, I told you Vega spacecraft carried balloon like that. And of course, using radar, we too want to study more about the surface of Venus. So look at that. It is not only moon, Mars, even the sun. Okay, that is Aditya L1. Today we are studying sun. Moon, Mars, sun, we have studied everything, means what prevents us from studying Venus. So this is the way Shukrayan spacecraft looks when it is launched, and this is the way with its radar here and its communication antenna. This is the way. It is a diagram, that's all. Okay, artist concept. So in 2028, expect it. Okay, so all these people would have grown up a little bit more at that time. Okay, and you know, best place to explore Venus, especially its atmosphere, is very interesting, because some 3 years back, scientists started telling that they detected what is known as phosphine. It is a gas. Phosphine is easy to generate through biological sources. Then, although it can be generated through industrial sources, where is the industry on Venus? So whether life exists in the clouds of Venus, people wants to study. So there are other plans to put robots on the surface again instead of 1 or 2 hours. Let them survive. You may wonder, how is it possible? Why? Parker Solar Probe has touched the sun even. So why not? This also might be possible tomorrow. That is the way. So this is the way Venus is, and this is the way, though Venus is the Earth's twin, they say it is Earth's evil twin. By looking at this evil, we can learn a lot, okay, about our own history, and this evil can serve as a warning bell for us to tell us our uncontrolled thirst for resources can lead us into a problem in the future. But anyway, finally, let me tell you, Earth is revolving around the sun in a region called Goldilocks zone. Forget about it. Habitable zone, that is where liquid water, water can exist as liquid. Okay, but was or is Venus within that? Now Venus is outside the habitable zone, or the Goldilocks. Mars is on the other end. Earth is very stable. But once upon a time, sun was not as bright as it is today. At that time, Venus might have been there in the habitable zone, And at that time, Venus might have had lots and lots of oceans. And probably, life would have evolved there. Not into dinosaurs, at least into microorganisms. It is only a speculation. Nobody has seen anything. So, in order to know more about this, was Venus ever host liquid water? Was it an abode of life, simple life at least? Is there any possibility of life in the clouds of Venus? So these are three questions, not only these three, I can tell you our 10 questions are there as far as Venus is concerned. To know and collect more information on these things, spacecraft after spacecraft are being sent towards Venus. So there are so many unknowns about Venus even today, and that is the reason humans are sending spacecraft. So by undertaking space flight, you have discovered a lot about the solar system as such. One of them is Venus. Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind attention from the people here as well as the people through YouTube. And if you have any questions, either through YouTube, Sharanya can read out anything, or if there is nothing, okay, let us. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So it's good that, Venus teaches a lot. Do you have anything? No, good. So people have understood everything. Okay. Then if there are no questions, we'll close it then. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good day.